This is Brent coming at you with yet another activation video. In this video we're going to do a very common exercise that unfortunately is not commonly progressed. And you and I both know that unless you progress an exercise, you will not continue to see adaptations. So I'm going to have my friend Yvette come out and she's going to help me demonstrate various ways of progressing the quad set. Now the quad set is a very simple exercise. And I know some of you guys who have never seen like a post-surgical knee are probably going to look at this exercise and go, but keep it in the back of your mind. One day you will get somebody who has had a chronic history of knee pain, who has had knee surgeries, and this exercise will become very handy. All a quad set is you're trying to get them to maximally fire their quad by locking out their knee or squeezing it into the table. All right, so let's see that a bit. So squeeze your quad, good, push your knee down on the table. If for some reason they're having a hard time visualizing this, or they're not quite getting it, or they can't quite seem to get their quad to fire, using a towel under the knee that they can then squish definitely helps. So I just want you to squish this towel. How does that feel? Does that make it a little bit more of a stronger contraction? Okay, good deal. So from here, we can go in a few different directions, and I'm basically going to talk about 3 different ways to progress the quad set. We have range of motion, we have strength, and we have integration. So let's start with range of motion, because you will get the individual who's shy of full extension. For them, what you're going to do is you're going to start with a larger towel under the knee, so that at least they have something to squeeze into, even short of terminal extension, and they can start working on that quad activity. So go ahead and squeeze this towel. And then what you'll do is progressively use smaller and smaller towels, or you could even just go, like let's say, unroll the towel 1 layer at a time. Good, and squeeze as their range of motion gets better and better. From there, once they get all the way back down to the table, you can then, for the last few degrees of extension, actually place the towel under their ankle. Now there's space under here, so that when they fire their quad, it's almost pushing them into hyperextension, but since these individuals don't have terminal extension, they'll get to progress all the way through to the very end. All right, so that's our range of motion progression. All our range of motion progression is using various height towels, at first the knee, and then the ankle. Once we get back all of our range of motion, maybe we want to start thinking towards getting some of our quad strength back. Well, that's easy enough. We're just going to throw a half foam roll underneath the knee so that we can get a little bit of range here and work on terminal extension. And for resistance, I'm just going to use an ankle weight. All right, so Yvette, go ahead and extend your knee, hold. We're going to hold for 2 to 4 seconds, do 12 to 20 repetitions, just like we have with all of our activation exercises. I think you guys can see very easily you could progress by increasing the weight of the ankle weight. There's a couple other ways to progress as well, though. We could, one, take this away and use a full foam roll. Now, instead of getting that last like 5 to 10 degrees, maybe here we have the last 10 to 20 degrees of extension. All right, so that's going to make it a little tougher, make them use a little bit more of that end range. You guys might also want to think about where you're placing the ankle weight on the tibia. Now, of course, if you place it up here, I know some of you guys are already thinking towards your lever lengths. This is a shorter lever, so they should be able to do more weight, and this should be harder. But there is one other thing I want you guys to think about. There is different things happening at the knee with those 2 positions. If I'm here, I have more of an anterior to posterior shear force, and if I am here, I have more of a curvilinear force. I generally find that people who have very touchy knees, where extension is really painful, using a proximal load, even with the load up a lot higher, tends to be a lot easier on their knee, and you'll get a lot more done without pain. All right, so here's the beginning of our strength progression. So now you guys had the range of motion progression with the towel. You had the strength progression here, but we're still not done. We still have to find a way to integrate quad activity and terminal extension with our lower body synergies. And this is where I love to geek out, guys. So I'm going to show you guys some cool little tricks you can use here. gonna take away this foam roll, and all I'm gonna do is I've tied a resistor band around the table leg here. I'm gonna flip it over Yvette's foot. Now I'm in position to add this terminal knee extension, this quad set, to my tibialis anterior activation. You guys can think about that from a functional standpoint on how important that would be during heel strike and gait. So if I dorsiflex with toes curled, right, squeeze the quad. And believe it or not, just the way the knee's set up, right, just the way this whole system is set up, resistance here is actually making it harder here too. If she's extending, she has to extend this whole fixed system, and as weight increases here, this also becomes harder. So let's try that one more time just to show them how we go. Usually I do this in a stepwise motion from bottom to top. So I'm gonna have her curl her toes, dorsiflex and invert, squeeze your quad. Not done yet though. I'm gonna have Yvette go ahead and drop back onto her elbows, and this time I'm gonna ask her to curl her toes, dorsiflex, squeeze her quad, and then press her whole leg into the table, really trying to get a good glute contraction, all right? I can even use one of my favorite cues, which is squeeze your glutes together like you're holding a dollar bill, all right? And we'll go ahead and start that all over. So toes curled, foot up, quads tight, glutes tight. If they're having a little hard time with the glute tight, give them something to squeeze. Just like you did for the range of motion progression, I'd go ahead and put a towel underneath their ankle, and now it's toes down, foot up and in, quad tight, and now she has something to squeeze with her glute. She can try to squeeze her whole leg back down into the table that I've now created a little gap with this towel. So there you guys go. Don't stop with quad sets. Quad sets is just the beginning. Work on that terminal knee extension. Those last few degrees can make a huge difference. Work on strengthening and make sure you have strength through that full end range. Make sure you're thinking about integrating that terminal extension and that quad activity back into the synergies of the lower body. And then from here, guys, there's a couple other videos you might look at. I have a gluteus medius progressions video where I create an activation circuit where I almost use this identical exercise to create posterior glide of the femoral head and the acetabulum, hoping to reduce the activity of the TFL and increase gluteus medius activation. You can also check out my VMO activation video where I use something called a TKE, or total knee extension, which is basically quad strengthening and a closed chain. So there you guys go. Whether you're working with a post-surgical knee, whether you're working with that older individual with cranky knees, whether you're working with that athlete who's kind of had that chronic runner's knee, lateral knee, patellar tendonitis type knee pain symptoms, these exercises integrated into their warm-up activity before they start their higher intensity activity can make a huge difference over the long run. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you, Yvette.